Ah, there we go. Okay, we are ready to start. So my talk today is called From Developer to Author. The reason why I decided to choose this particular topic is because I recently wrote a book on Drupal development. And I wanted to share with you the things that I had learned along the way, both from learning from other people and also from trial and error. In particular, we're going to cover the reasons why you might want to write a book, how you figure out what you're going to write, how you actually make money from writing a book, and I'm going to share some case studies that I did with other authors, and we're going to have a look at some of the tools that I use to write and publish my book. So a little bit about me. I've got 7 years of Drupal experience. Like I said, I wrote the book Master Drupal Module Development. I blog quite a lot about Drupal on beefviews.com. I live and work in London. I am originally from New Zealand, so that's why I talk a little bit funny, but that's okay. That's my accent.
That's not funny, that's cool.
Cool? Okay, cool's good. I like cool. So the first thing is, writing a book, it's really, really hard work. I knew it was hard work when I set out to write a book, but actually it was probably twice as hard as what I thought it was going to be. So why on earth would anybody actually want to write a book? There's two main reasons, I think. First reason, additional income. Some people make a nice side income from writing a book, and some people actually manage to turn it into a full-time business. The second reason is increased exposure. Increased exposure can bring you job offers, more clients, and higher salary, higher rate, that kind of thing. Now, the important point here is you need to decide what your main goal is before you start, because your pricing strategy will be determined by your main goal. Reason being, if you decide that you want to go for increased exposure, then you probably want to sell as many copies as you can. Therefore, you probably want to have a relatively low price. However, if your main goal is additional income, then I would not recommend having a low price. And we're going to talk about pricing a little bit later on. So now you've got to decide what you're actually going to write. If you're sitting in this talk, then I'm assuming you have some kind of vague possible interest in maybe one day writing a book. You may actually already have some ideas of what you might want to write. Of course, the important thing is that you need to write a book that people are actually going to want to buy. So how do we do that? Main concept here is to serve your community. That's a photo of DrupalCon London. So we're all a member of the Drupal community. We're all members of the greater PHP community. You may be a member of a freelancing community or a Polish startup community, that kind of thing. So the idea is to basically study your community, find out what problems they have, their pain points, what really frustrates them. It could be that they've already bought an existing book on the particular topic, but if you go to Amazon.com, for example, and you read the reviews of that book, you may find that actually they don't like the book, or it didn't solve their actual problem. And then you need to decide, can you actually help these people? And a way to do that is to basically take all of the problems that you've identified with your community, and then take your own knowledge, your own experience, what you know, and look at the intersection between the two, which is in here. That could be the topic of your book. You don't necessarily have to have all of the knowledge about that topic to write the book, but I would recommend this because if you are not already, you don't necessarily have to be an expert, but if you don't have good knowledge already, then it's going to take you a long time to actually write the book, because you have to do a lot of research. Okay. So obviously we need to sell this book. There's not much point writing a book if nobody actually buys it. So we've got a couple of options. The first option is to get a publisher. You can do that in two ways. You can think up the topic yourself, and you can approach the likes of O'Reilly, and you can ask them if they would be interested in publishing it. Or you might actually get approached by a publisher. Either option works. However, there are some problems with this. First problem, you don't get much money. The publisher is probably going to pay you about 15% in royalties. You don't actually have that much control. And do they actually promote your book? Chances are a publisher is only going to really promote a well-known author. They may put your book on, well, they will put your book on Amazon. They will put it on their own website. If you're really lucky, they may put it into a bookstore, but they're not going to push it that hard. And the final problem is that any customers that you get are not actually your customers. They are the customers of the publisher or of the retailer. The second option you've got here is to bypass the publisher completely, self-publish your book, and put it directly onto the Amazon Kindle store. There's a few problems with this as well. Amazon's cut of book sales is either 30 or 70%, depending on the price of the book. There's a lot of competition on the Amazon website, so you are effectively competing on price. And again, the customers that you get, they're not your customers, they are Amazon's customers. So, what are we going to do? Luckily, we've got a third option here. Sell your book on your own website. You get all of the revenue, you get total control, you can do whatever you want, you can write what you want, and any customers that you get are actually your customers. Now this, I'm stressing this point because this is really important, because if you write a book and you get these customers, then in 2 years' time, you may decide to write a second book, and you can promote your book to your existing customers. So now we're going to talk about how we actually sell a book on your own website. So there's two things that you need. You obviously need to attract customers, and they need to trust you. If they don't trust you, then they're not going to buy from you. So this is, it's basic marketing. Okay. How many people how many people in this room absolutely love marketing? Put your hand up. Okay, there's a few. How many people in this room do not like marketing? Nobody. Okay. That's true, that's true. I do find sometimes when I talk to developers, they either don't understand marketing or they actually just don't like it. But fortunately for developers, it's not actually that difficult. How many people in this room have a blog? Only 3? 4? Okay. So you guys are already doing content marketing. So the basic premise here is to become a teacher on your own blog. So as developers, we spend all day solving problems, we spend all day learning new things, and the idea is that you teach those things on your own blog, and you educate your community. It's a great way to attract customers, and it's a great way to show that you're an expert and to build trust with your potential customers. So before we go, there's kind of two kinds of blogging that I want to talk about. The first one is when you write what I call an epic post. So an epic post is a very long blog post, normally around 3,000 words. It could be a very long tutorial, a guide, could even be a video or a cheat sheet. These long blog posts tend to convert very well. They also tend to attract quite a lot of traffic because they get shared quite a lot. The problem is that they take a very long time to write. So for me, myself, I try to do this, but I can only do it probably once a month, maybe once every 2 weeks if I'm really lucky. So what I recommend is that you mix it up with some shorter, smaller blog posts. And these can be between 200 and 1,000 words. these word counts, you know, it doesn't actually matter. It could be 100 words. As long as it's actually delivering some kind of value, then it's fine. There could be quick tips, there could be short tutorials, and there might even be a code snippet. Code snippets are incredibly easy for developers to share because you're writing code all day long. You take a small snippet, you put it on your blog, you write a description about what you're trying to achieve, and you've shared it, and you've taught somebody. So you can do this on a regular basis. I recommend at least once a week, ideally once a day if you can, if not 3 or 4 times a week. So we have got a topic for our book. We have potentially started writing our book. We have been writing blog posts. None of that matters if we have no traffic on our website. So let's look at a few ways that we can attract people to our website. First thing here, connect with people and help people. You probably do it already because you're in the Drupal community. The more people that you connect with, the more people that you get to know, even if it's just talking to them on Drupal.org or on Twitter, the higher the chances are that they are actually going to share your work. Second thing, syndicate your best post on something like Planet Drupal. For me, if I write a really good blog post and it goes on Planet Drupal, on that particular day my traffic will double at least, and it probably doubles for about 3 days afterwards. Another thing here is writing guest posts. The idea here is that if there's another website that has already got your ideal customer, something like Smashing Magazine, for example, which has a lot of traffic, if you approach them and you say you want to write a blog post for them, they will hopefully publish that on their website and provide a link back to your website so you can kind of siphon off traffic from theirs to yours. Similar thing here with third-party websites like medium.com. Being a guest on podcasts, that's a huge traffic generator.
Stack Exchange.
Stack Exchange.
Being useful there, I think it's pretty much.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that you don't have a signature, right? So if I mean, it's useful, it's a great thing to do.
Signature to your post.
Yeah, true. Yeah, okay, yeah. So this point was Stack Exchange. Okay, conference speaking and YouTube videos. I mean, there's a whole list of things that we can talk about here. This is just a few examples. Does anybody know what the term linkerati means? Anybody? Okay. It's a term that was coined by SEO Moz many years ago. And it essentially means a group of people who like to share content and link to content. Now, they come up with this term because these people become a target for what's called link bait, which is when somebody writes a blog post with the intention of getting other people to link to it. I'm not necessarily recommending doing that. However, fortunately, developers are natural linkerati. Whenever we see a blog post that we like, or a blog post that's helped us, there's a very high chance that we're going to share it on Twitter, on our own blog, that kind of thing. So fortunately for us, if we write great content, chances are our friends, our followers, people we know, or people we don't know, will share that content. Okay, so we've got our book, we've got some traffic on our website. Now what's going to happen? Somebody's going to come to our blog, they're going to read it, they're going to read our post. Then, chances are, they're going to get distracted, they're going to leave the blog, they're not going to come back. Have they bought your book yet? No, they haven't. So blogging on its own is not enough. We need to try and attract these people and get them onto our emailing list so that they become a member of your own personal audience. So this is just a very quick example of one of my blog posts. And then right at the bottom, down here, I've got a call to action. Basically, I'm trying to get people to join my email list. I'm giving them something for free, a cheat sheet on Drush. And I'm also saying, on a regular basis, I am going to send them Drush and Drupal tutorials. Okay, doing that alone is not enough. If you just do that and nothing else, then they will get their free cheat sheet. That's great. They will see your name in their inbox once. That's great. If you never email them again, within 3 weeks, 2 weeks, they don't know who you are. They've forgotten. If in a month's time you email them and you say, I've got this great book, they're not going to know who you are. They're going to forget.
There's a new question here, like the autoresponders.
Yes, I'm going to get to that, but yes. So before I get to autoresponders, basically the idea here is you need to offer them more value. So you need to email these people on a frequent basis, and you need to start building a relationship with your audience. Something that's really, really important here is to every now and again just ask a general question. Something like, what is one thing that really frustrates you with, I don't know, the features module or the views module, that kind of thing. You're going to get some answers. Those answers are going to help you come up with topics for new blog posts. They're also going to help you write content for your book as well. But the main point here is that you need to build trust with your audience. Okay, so I don't actually have a slide on autoresponders, but basically the idea of an autoresponder is that it's a timed email. So if somebody signs up to your email list, you can set automated emails that go out on a regular basis. And there's a few ways of doing it. What I did a while ago is I had a free course on starting Drupal development. It was 7 emails over 7 days. It was an autoresponder, and then it was fully automated. You can also do it where you send an email on day 1, and then in a week's time, you might send another one. In 2 weeks' time, another one, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can have like a course in Drush commands, like
yes.
top 10 Drush commands.
Yeah. And you, yeah, exactly. And you can even do it where, because what I'm talking about here really is doing a traditional newsletter where you send an email once a week, but the people who read the email are getting the current week's newsletter. With an autoresponder, you could actually build up a massive backlog of content. And when you write a new post, all you're really doing is adding another post to the end of your autoresponder. The only problem with this is that with technical posts, they tend to go out of date. So if you build up, I don't know, a year's worth of content in an autoresponder, and people join today, the stuff they get from a year ago may be out of date. That's the only slight problem. But you can change them, so that's probably okay. Okay, so at some point, you need to ask your customers, or your audience rather, to buy your book. Basically, don't do this too soon. Don't get them onto your email list and ask them to buy your book on day 1, because at this point, they still don't actually trust you. You are still an unknown person on the internet that they've come across. They need to trust you before they buy anything, so you need to send them a lot of value before you ask for the sale. So I would recommend probably send them maybe 4 weeks worth of content before you actually ask them to buy your book. At the end, I'm going to show you an example of my sales page, but the general point here is that in your email, at some point, you'll say, you know, I've written a book on this topic, and you will provide a link to your sales page. Okay, before we go on to this topic, I just want to say, is there any questions about that side of things? Any more questions? Yep.
When you're starting to sending value via email list, are you starting from the scratch for each user, or you have some common point for all the signs?
So the question is, when you are sending an email to users, are you starting from scratch for each user or each audience member, or are you covering common points? You're generally covering common points, so you're writing the same email to everybody on your list. Now you can segment your list. So by that I mean you might have a group of people that you know are interested in Drush. You may have a group of people that you know are only site builders and they're not developers. And by doing that, you can target emails to particular segments. Does that answer your question?
Something like that. I was wondering if you have some starting point for a new member. For example, a few of the introduction mail, and then you are going to send one information to all users, or you are, when new member is coming to your list, are you sending the information that you are sharing to all the members?
Okay, so the question is, when a new member comes to your list, are you sharing information that you would share to all your members or just to new members? You can do it either way. I know people who, I mean, it's down to autoresponders again. If you've got new members coming in, it's a very good idea to set these autoresponders to send out emails that you know are specific to new members. And you may start off with saying, email 1, this is an introduction to who I am, this is what I do, that kind of thing. Email 2 might be, tell me about you, tell me your problems, that kind of thing. And then you might send a third email a bit later on, a few more questions. And then once I've had those 3 emails, then you start sending them your generic newsletter. Okay, so if I told you that you could sell your book before you actually finished your book, would you believe me?
There's some tech for it.
There is. So what we're talking about here is pre-selling. So what I did with my book, when I finished writing 5 chapters of my book, I offered it for sale. My book is currently 11 chapters, so it was less than 50% written. I was very honest. You know, I said this is not a complete version. I offered a very big discount. I think it was 25%. And of course, I offered unlimited updates, which basically means the customer is going to get regular updates on a monthly basis until the book is actually finished. The great thing about this is that you get a lot of feedback from these people. These are people who are interested enough in your topic that they're willing to give you money before you've even finished the damn thing. So there's a high chance they're going to give you good feedback. That feedback goes back into your book. It helps polish it, it helps refine it. They might find bugs in your code or in your copy or whatever. Yeah, it's a great thing to do.
There's a site called Lean Publish, I think. Is that the one you've been using?
I didn't use LeanPub, but I know people who have. Yeah, so LeanPub basically is built on this premise. So it automates all this for you. So you write your book in Markdown, you publish it on LeanPub, the customer buys the book on LeanPub, and when you publish an update, they automatically get the update. Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to do. I didn't do that, but I know people who have, so yeah. So this is an example of a book called Clean Ruby. So this was available for pre-sale, or is still available for pre-sale. So this is where he basically says, you can buy the early release of your book. You're getting a small discount. Or, if you don't want to do that, you can put your email address in there and you will get the full book when it's finished. A lot of people have bought this book, so it works. Okay, so let's just put together all the things that we've talked about so far. First step, solve a real problem for your community. Start blogging and building your email list. Start writing your book. Keep blogging and building your email list. Offer a pre-sale to your list. Finish your book. Keep blogging and building your email list. Publish the first edition. Keep blogging and building your email list. And then, keep blogging and building your email list. You need to do this basically all the time.
Some people even do podcasts.
Oh, yeah, that kind of thing, yeah.
Like a economics podcast.
Yeah. I mean, for me, there is a very direct correlation between when I publish and how much money I make. If I'm busy working as a freelancer and I have no time to writing blog posts and I don't publish, guess what? I get no sales. If I write a really good blog post, I might get a dozen sales. So you need to have the time to do this. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to actually price your book. This is a bit of a tricky topic. We're talking about writing an ebook. There's no physical copy here. You know, it's just a PDF. How much is it actually worth? I'm going to recommend that you don't price it too low. You need to basically target professionals. So professional developers who don't mind paying for something where you're actually going to solve a real problem that they've got. This is why it's so important that you're serving your community, that you're understanding them, that you're understanding their problems. This is also why it's very important that you don't just think up some idea in the shower and then start writing a book. It needs to be solving a real problem. Businesses tend to be better than consumers. Consumers tend to want to buy based on price. They want to go for the lowest price thing because they've got a fixed budget. Businesses tend to understand value. They tend to understand that time is money. They tend to understand that if you solve problems for them or for their employees, they save time, they save cost, they make more money. So this is just a few examples of kind of range of prices. The first one is my book, which is $19, which is probably too cheap. So you should probably buy it now before I put the price up. The second one is a book called Sublime Productivity, which is $25. And the third one is a book called Rebuilding Rails, which is $49. All three books were published around the same time. So that's quite a good kind of benchmark for the kind of pricing that you should be aiming for.
What can you do to increase the price to charge for your book?
I'm going to get to something in a second about how to charge more, but I don't think there's an easy answer for this because it does depend on your audience. It does depend on their perception of value. It depends on the size of the problem you're solving. Yeah, it depends on many things. I mean, originally when I launched my book, I was charging $39. And I thought that was a fair price, but I didn't get any sales. Well, I got sales, but not many sales. When I dropped it to 19, I got a lot more. So, I mean, I said before, don't compete on price, but you do obviously have to adjust and see how it goes.
But I would think the book that the book of security, I dropped in the bucket.
Yeah.
Like that one, you probably charge more for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, because you're
Yeah.
the users, and probably a lot of them are hobbyists, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, So the question, or the point here is the book called "A Drop in a Bucket," which is about Drupal security. That they could potentially charge a lot of money because it's very high value. It is also, as far as I know, the only book in the Drupal world that's dedicated to security. So there's no competition. If you want to know about security, you probably need to buy that book. For my book, I've got quite a lot of competition. There is Pro Drupal Development. There's the one that Krell wrote. I can't remember what it's called. Learning Module Development, I think. And also, the other problem I had was that it took me a long time to write the book. When I launched it, Drupal 8 was being built. So I was quite late in the Drupal 7 lifecycle. These other books had already been out for a long time. So that was kind of the problem I had. Now, we're going to talk about a couple of points here around how you can actually charge more. And one way is to have pricing tiers. So the idea here is that you add additional value for people who have got a bigger budget. You generally want to offer 3 options. You don't want to offer more than that because people will get confused. They won't know which option to choose, and they'll get bored, and they will leave. 3 is a nice number. So this is what I do for my book. So like I said, $19 for the book. However, if you've got a bit more money, you may want to get unlimited updates and all the code. The code is actually on Drupal.org anyway, but it just gives you a bit of added convenience. If you've got another $10, then you might want to get these extra 3 guides that I've written as well. These pricing tiers, there's not a massive difference in those prices. So I don't necessarily recommend that these are the prices you choose, but it's just the idea that you want to have 3 tiers. This is an example of this done very well. A guy called Nathan Barry, he's written 3 or 4 books. One of them is called Authority. You can buy the book for $39. Now, $39 might seem like a lot of money for a book. But when you look at this, you see $39, and then you see at the other side, $249. Your mind at this point is thinking, okay, $39 is actually, that's not that much compared to $249. So I might take that option, or I might take that option. You are no longer comparing the price of that book against its competitors. You're comparing the price of that book against other versions of the same book. Whatever happens, Nathan Barry wins. He gets a sale. So his top package is very expensive, $249. It's a lot of money, but he's offering a lot of value. He's got 9 video tutorials. He's got 11 interviews with experts, which are also in video form. He's got a iBooks author template. He's got an iPhone app. He's got another template for Photoshop, and he's got a voucher off some of his software that he sells. So video content has a higher perceived value than text. So if you've got time to write video tutorials, then that's a great way to charge a higher price.
You haven't even got to something even more valuable. Imagine you can open you can have a one-on-one support for the first 4 weeks, for example.
Yeah?
Imagine
Yeah.
a support chapter where you can log in
Yeah.
video, and you have a Q&A session with the office twice a week.
Yeah.
And then you can charge another few hundred.
Yeah. Yeah, I know people that do it as well. It depends if you want to spend the time to. So the point is here is that you can actually offer even more value by giving your time and support and charge even more money. You would obviously do that if you had the time to spend. If you don't have the time, or you want to have this completely automated and you don't want to deal with people, then don't do that, but it's a great way to make more money.
But if you do like a Q&A session, it's like 2 hours, maybe Tuesday and Thursday, so you can match different time zones.
Yeah.
Set up like a chat room or Google Hangouts or something.
Yeah.
People come in, you can build a relationship to them.
Yeah.
Video and so on, you get a lot of benefits.
Yeah, definitely. So the point here is you can do a Q&A session on Google Hangouts. You do it once with a whole bunch of people and get great feedback. Okay, so another way to kind of justify your price is to anchor your price to a potential benefit. And I'm going to show you an example of a book called Double Your Freelance Rates. Are there any freelancers in here? Or people who own studios or consultancies? Okay, a couple. If you want to double your rate, I recommend this book. It's basically about value-based pricing, but it's very good. Now, he's got a calculator on his sales page where you plug in your hourly rate and the number of hours that you work per week. And then it calculates that if you achieve a 50% increase in your rate based on the information in this book, then you are going to get an extra $39,000 US per year. So at this point you're thinking that's quite a lot of money. I could do with that. That sounds quite nice. And then you look at the price of the book, $69. On its own, it's a very expensive book, but you're comparing it to the potential financial upside that you could get from using the information from the book. And then he offers another tier. He offers an accountability course and video interviews. And you may think, okay, if I take this extra tier, I may actually be able to make a 100% increase in my rate. So you start comparing $199 against $78,000. It's a very easy decision. You know, obviously, you've got to trust Brennan. You've got to trust that he's actually going to deliver. But like I said before, he's blogged about it. He's got you into his email list. He's built trust over a long period of time. So at this point, you already trust him. Okay, so that's basically the end of pricing and marketing and choosing your topic. I just wanted to show you some case studies. So I interviewed the authors of these 3 books and just got some information about how much money they made, how long it took them, did they get any additional benefits like more clients, that kind of thing, and if there's one piece of advice that they could give people in this room, what would it be? So Brennan Dunn said that it took him 120 hours to write the first edition of this book, and his most successful marketing activities were education content on his newsletter, on his podcast, and on his blog. He also appears quite a lot as a guest on other podcasts, and he does this to siphon off their audience to become his audience members. And he also does a lot of work around autoresponders. So, you know, he's got various autoresponders that all end up pointing towards that book. He makes about $2,000 US per month. That's without doing anything other than his normal blogging. He recently released the 2nd edition of his book, and he sent a tweet afterwards, and he said how much money he made from the launch of his 2nd edition. So basically within a 24-hour period, he made $39,000 US from the release of his 2nd edition. This is only possible because he's built a massive email list, and he's built that by delivering real value in his blog, and then delivering real value in his weekly newsletter to the point where people trust him, so when he releases a new version, they want it. He said that he didn't actually get any additional clients from writing this particular book because he said, you know, clients are not too keen on the idea that he's encouraging other freelancers to double their rates. But he has a SaaS app, and that's helped him with selling high-priced consulting engagements. So his important piece of advice is to write consistently and constantly, even if the words that you write are not made public. So the idea here is to make writing a habit. Writing is something that you get better at the more you do, a bit like writing code. So it's a good idea to write on a daily basis if you can. I try and do it so that I write for an hour before I have breakfast. So I wake up, make a cup of tea, open my laptop. I'm very tired, but I start writing. Writing first thing in the morning is supposed to be a great way to write because you've been sleeping, your subconscious is more at the forefront of your brain, so you get a lot of stuff from your subconscious coming through. So the second person that I interviewed was Josh Earl, who wrote Sublime Productivity, and it took him, he's written 2 books, it took him 150 to 200 hours to write the first one, and 100 hours for the second one. In terms of marketing, he said that email is everything. So, he's got a couple of ways to attract email subscribers here. He's got a Twitter handle which has a huge following, and he converts those to email. He said that his profile on Twitter links directly to his email subscription page. He ran a contest to get email subscribers, and he's also doing paid Twitter ads to also get email subscribers. He makes about $1,500 US per month, and in total he's made $27,000 US. He's not a freelancer, so he has not got any new clients because he doesn't have clients. But he did say that it did open up a whole new world of marketing to him, and he made some really good friends. His most important piece of advice is to make sure that there's a market for your book. Do lots of custom research, and I think this thing is really important. Write a really long blog post about the topic of the book, and see if you can attract visitors to the blog post before you write the book. If you can't, there's a high chance you're not going to sell that book. Noah Gibbs is the guy that wrote Rebuilding Rails. It took him 10 months part-time to write that book. For him, blog posts and also doing a few classes is where he got most of his sales. He's made $20,000 US in total, and he's currently selling around 5 to 10 copies per month. He's also not a freelancer, but he did say that after a 15-year career as a programmer, where you would think that his salary would probably be quite stable at this point, he managed to achieve a 25% increase in his next job, partly helped by the fact that he wrote a book on the topic, the same topic as the job. His most important piece of advice: figure out who wants to buy your book and why before you write a single word. Very, very important advice. Okay, so we need to talk about the tools that you need to write and publish your book. First thing you need a word processor. You might use Word, you might use Pages, you might use OpenOffice. I used Scrivener, which is a wonderful piece of software. It allows you, it's built for book authors. It allows you to break down your content into very small pieces, and allows you to rearrange your content however you like. So you can be constantly restructuring as you go. You don't have to copy and paste content in a Word document. You just move files around. It also allows you to publish directly to PDF and maybe an EPUB directly from Scrivener. Okay, so I haven't actually talked about editors at this point, but you might want to get some editors to proofread and check your book. The way I did it is that I had a friend of mine who, I actually had 3 friends of mine who did a technical audit of the book. They were all very good Drupal developers. They were reading through it on a regular basis and kind of picking up any mistakes that I might have made. Also, when I write a blog post, I get my wife to read it first. She finds any spelling mistakes, any grammatical mistakes, and for those, I use a website called draftin.com. This allows me to put in my blog post, she can go on there, she can review it, she can make changes, and then I get a very nice diff. And that's got my copy, it's got her copy, and it's got the changes, and I can choose to accept or decline on a line-by-line basis. It's basically a bit like source control, but for blog posts, and you could also use it for the entire book if you want to. Okay, so we're going to do some blogging. So we need a blogging platform. I'm not quite sure what we could choose here. Okay, Drupal. You might choose WordPress, I don't know, but I choose Drupal. A point here, if you want to syndicate content on Planet Drupal, then your blog must be a Drupal blog. Okay, so we're going to send out emails. We need some way to do that. Here's a few options. MailChimp is probably the biggest. Aweber is probably the oldest. I chose Campaign Monitor, which is also the most expensive, but they have the best support. It was the easiest to use. They are constantly adding new features, so that's the one that I would recommend. And we need a way to charge people money for the book and to deliver the files to them. I'm going to be slightly controversial at this point. You could use Drupal Commerce for this, and I didn't. I think the jam is probably going to kill me in a second, because I actually chose a proprietary system. The reason why I did that, so I used FastSpring for mine. The reason why I did that is because I was busy writing a book. I was busy writing blog posts. I was busy thinking about what my audience needed. I was busy thinking about marketing. I didn't have time to set up Drupal Commerce. I didn't have time to maintain it. FastSpring also are very good for people who live in the EU because they have a very robust solution for calculating VAT for EU customers. Gumroad is also very popular, and DPD.
Picking up VAT, the price you gave us, were they
includes VAT.
including VAT?
The price for my book includes VAT. For the other two books, they are American authors, and they don't charge VAT, even though they probably should for EU customers, but they don't.
So do US customers get a lower price because they're not paying VAT?
No.
Or?
So with FastSpring, you've got the option. You can either include or exclude VAT. So if you exclude VAT from the calculation, then if it's an EU customer, then they pay 20% more than a US customer. I decided to basically take the hit myself and charge EU customers the same as I would an American customer. I decided it wasn't worth annoying people by charging them more, basically. Okay, here's a couple of links that I recommend you read. Amy Hoy, you may have heard of her, you may not. She's the person that's probably taught me the most about this kind of topic. I recommend you check out this link. Nathan Barry wrote a blog post on Smashing Magazine called How to Launch Anything. Also a great read. Okay, so that's the end. This is Marketing 101. I've given you a way here to go onto my email list.
What you do is put your Twitter name before the presentation so I can tweet during the presentation.
Okay, so I failed at Marketing 101.
That's why
Next time. So this is my blog. So I made a page specifically for this conference. If you put in your email address, then next week I will send you these slides, and I will also send you the full interview with the 3 people that I interviewed, and I'll send you additional information that I think is relevant to you if you want to write a book on a regular basis. And if you want to ask me questions as you go, then feel free as well. So at this point, I will say, any more questions?
how many sales can you make writing a book about Drupal Tom? Can you sell like several thousand?
So the question is, how many books can you sell on a Drupal topic? It's kind of a difficult question to answer because it really depends. It depends on how good your marketing is, how good your blogging is, that kind of thing. But what I will say is that I have sold a lot less than the people I've talked about on here, serving a Drupal market. The Drupal market is, you know, it's big, but it's not big. It is relatively small in the big scheme of things. It kind of depends. If you write a book now about Drupal 8, for example, you've probably got a good chance because when it comes out, people want to learn it. If you write a book about, I don't know, some niche topic within Drupal, like how to use the features module or how to use views or whatever, you're probably going to struggle to sell very many. I mean, you'll sell them, but you probably won't sell thousands.
But then it might be a good sales tool.
Exactly. So it could be a good sales tool. And that's what I found as well. I mean, with my book, in terms of revenue on an hourly basis, I've made a lot less than what I would if I was just freelancing. However, I do believe it's helped me win clients, and I do believe it's helped me kind of charge a higher rate because it gives you a certain level of authority. Yeah, exactly.
Have you got any leads, freelance leads from the book? I mean, the guy bought your book and then
No. I haven't, but I don't really promote that either at this point. I tend to get freelance leads. My freelancing website is a different website entirely, and I tend to get most of my leads from SEO and also referrals, what have you. But it's certainly possible, but you'd probably have to push it. So you probably, you know, it's the kind of thing that Jacob was talking about before, where you could actually offer a higher tier and include consulting or freelancing as part of that higher tier, potentially. If you build up a big enough list, you could send an email and say, I'm available for new clients. Even if the people on the list, you know, if they're developers, they obviously don't want you as a freelancer, but they may know somebody who does. I haven't tried that myself, but I know people who have, and it has worked for them.
What you can do as a writer is that you can gain like a platform of authority, and then you can use that to put yourself in a different niche and market you, so you can charge way more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Now, no one can argue with you.
Yeah.
I wrote the book, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
What do you think about the business model which were used in Humble Bundle, like pay as much as you want?
Okay, so the question is, what do I think of the business model where you can pay as much as you want? So LeanPub do this as well. So with LeanPub, you basically say my recommended price is $20, say, but the customer can choose to pay more if they want to.
Can they pay less?
I don't think they can pay less. I'm not actually sure. They may be able to, I don't think they can, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not convinced that it works. I don't know. I'm not convinced that the customer at that point understands the value that they're going to get from the book enough to understand how much they're actually willing to pay for it. In the case of double your freelance rate, if you were to buy that book, would you volunteer to pay $69 US, or would you volunteer to pay less? You'd probably pay less, right? However, Brennan believes that it offers real value, so he's decided that that is the value, and people still buy it. So
I think Humble Bundle is kind of like the discount market, and it's also about the do good thing. So like you can choose from who you get, but I don't believe like you're not getting the premium market. You're getting like the scrub of the market.
Yeah, but something you could do like disaster relief day. They could do like a Haiti day, and they pay as much as you want. All the money goes to the Red Cross or something. You can do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of marketing.
But then you don't get any value yourself.
No, but we
It's
build,
marketing.
we build a lot of
Yeah, but that,
Robert Douglas has been doing a lot of fundraising with his wife's open source piano projects and open sourcing the score for the Bach music and stuff.
There you go, the variation.
Yeah, the Open Goldberg Variations is the project. And we have a mutual friend who plays in a Canadian rock band, and they do gigs, the rock band does gigs where they
It's
say,
not
okay.
Rush, just say.
No, it's called Hey Ocean, and they're awesome. So there's a Drupal developer called Campbell Vertesi. His screen name is Oh the Huge Manatee, and Hey Ocean is his brother. So anyway, Hey Ocean does these gigs where like, okay, tonight, CDs for karma pricing. You know, pay what you want, but the more you pay, the more karma you get. And they do really well with this, with nightclub crowds. So Robert Douglas tried this with the classical audience, when his wife was playing. And look, you know, this is a lifetime of practice. This is important culture. This is, you know, we spent 50,000 euros on the best studio, Bösendorf in Canada, but we know that you really believe in this project because you're here tonight, so you pay what you want for this CD. There was a guy at the back who tried to pay 30 cents for the CD, and they're like, you know what? We're canceling karma pricing.
yeah. Yeah.
30 cents.
Yeah. It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay, any more questions?
I will ask you a question. You know you've got those 3 different tiers in your pricing model.
Yeah.
So, how many people, I mean, well, were there many people actually buying your book and wanting to pay more for the additional benefits?
Okay, it's a good question.
The value.
Good question. So the question is, with the 3 pricing tiers that I've got, were there many people who decided to go for the higher price to get the additional value? I was actually very surprised when I did this because the vast majority of people are choosing the top package. I thought people would choose the bottom package, but they're not. A few people are choosing the bottom package, but probably, I don't have the exact stats, but I imagine maybe 2/3 are taking the top package.
Are you selling piecemeal extra content, like you can get an extra chapter on Ajax programming for like $5, like
Yeah. So the question is, have I played around with additional content in piecemeal and charging, you know, a price for that? I haven't done it yet, but I want to. So I want to basically write smaller guides that are not a full book. Might be, I don't know, 50 pages or less maybe, and charging a lower price because it's lower value, but on a more niche topic.
Have you, like, you said that you don't sell on Amazon, but like personally, when somebody offers a book, like even like digital downloads that I have to like read somehow, because that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. Like I much prefer reading on Amazon because I've got the Amazon Kindle app that sings and all that stuff.
Okay.
Have you thought about, like, you might be missing out on some of your markets by doing it this way?
Okay. So the question is.
I'm not sure if it's a question.
Well, the statement is that am I missing out on potential sales because the book is not for sale on Amazon, and a lot of people would prefer to put the book on the Kindle, read it that way. When you buy my book, you get a Kindle version of the book. So a Mobi file is for Kindle. So you get that anyway. You don't get it from Amazon, but you get it from me directly.
And that's okay, but it's an extra barrier. Like,
Yeah, you have to, basically, when you buy the book, you have to drag it from your desktop to your Kindle. That's true.
Well, it's more than that.
Or you can email it as well.
You need the app, or you need to know the email address, and a lot of people will not know that.
You can drag it. You can drag it. You plug your Kindle into your machine.
All the time.
I never charge it.
First world problems, man, right here.
No, but then what about your market? Because now you have to find your customers yourself. Like
Yes.
people that are looking for Drupal on
Yeah.
like you're missing, like
Yep.
I'm not sure, but maybe what you could think about is like just offering a more expensive version on Amazon and having a cheaper version on your website.
I could try it. It's kind of, everything I've talked about is around a particular kind of system of selling by marketing yourself, building trust, keeping in contact with people, understanding them, that kind of thing. If you're selling it on Amazon, you're not doing that. People are finding you because they're going to Amazon. So it's a different model completely, basically.
But I think you're missing out on a bunch of people. Like you're talking about marketing, and marketing is about reaching as much people as possible. And I think that you're missing out on a bunch of people that otherwise could have found you. And you can still put in like a page, like a call to action page that brings them to your mailing list. And then the next book, like you could say like, next time you want like my next book, do you want to get it at a cheaper price?
Yeah.
Amazon
Yeah.
What if you sell a teaser, like just like cost $5 in the teaser book, and at the end of it,
Yeah.
want to learn more? Go to my website, buy this
Yeah.
book. Book $19.
that's an idea.
Amazon has those like dollar shorts as well, right? That you can put in the book market
For a very short book.
for like short stories.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, it's something I should try. I thought about trying it. I haven't tried it yet, but I think I definitely will. I think for my next book, I'll probably try it then. There's a bunch of stuff that I need to learn as well about how to actually optimize your book in the Kindle store, because you have to try and rank for a particular category. It's like the App Store for the iPhone, or it's a bit like SEO. You have to rank, or else you're not going to get any sales. You also have to try and get a lot of feedback, because that drives your rankings. So it's based on a bunch of things. It's based on the number of people who download it, the number of people who have given feedback, obviously the number of people who have given positive feedback, that kind of thing. So there's a bunch of work there, but it's, sorry?
Get your fans.
You have your email list.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can
Yeah.
give some of your close fans, you can even give them like a gift certificate or something for a low amount, but go and buy my new book and write a review for me, you know?
Yeah,
Thank you for the loyalty and all the value
Yeah.
feedback.
yeah,
And if you get 10 great reviews, that's probably going to be enough, I think.
yeah, definitely. I'm going to,
There's competition, but not that much.
not that much in the Drupal space, I guess, yeah. Yeah. So I definitely should try that, yeah.
And have you thought of writing a non-Drupal book?
Yes.
What's going to be that?
What do you like?
Yeah, it's about how you should use WordPress. No, I'm joking. Yes, no, I do. I am going to, hopefully. Like I mentioned before, I tend to get freelancing leads from SEO and from that kind of thing, and I tend to get quite a few leads on a weekly basis. So I want to write a book for freelancers and also for digital agencies. Acquia as well, could be a customer, potentially. Basically how to get more leads from your website and from your marketing activities. And I think that will be, I mean, it's a bigger market, obviously. It's potentially a harder market because it's less cohesive. Obviously, the Drupal community is very cohesive. It's very easy to find people and to communicate with people. Freelancing market is very scattered. You have different kinds of freelancers. You have freelance developers, freelance designers, freelance copywriters, that kind of thing. But it's something I would like to try. Okay, any more questions? Nope. You're done? Okay, so that's the end.